So I'm just going to say a quick welcome officially. My name is Alyson Pellowe. I've been running Peole Vision for 20 years. Jo's going to introduce herself in a moment. We've both gone for the hair up look today. I hope you like it, everybody. We never know how we're going to look on an event. Yeah. We've done lots of mixture of webinars and live events. Just bear with me if I'm a little bit distracted, because I'm just letting people in at the same time through the meeting into the room. So
Russ, at least we have hair. We have a lot of hair between us, actually. Yeah, we do.
So what we want to talk about today is just to let you know at the top of the event here is that we are inviting people to join a VIP members club. That is for HR and learning senior professionals who want to join. We've had our first meeting already. It's an opportunity to have a more intimate setting for a networking event, and that's been really well received. And we've got people from all sorts of walks of life in there. We've really enjoyed that. So if you want to, you can just direct message me or send me an email afterwards. There's no cost or anything. It's just about having a more intimate senior group of people to talk through some really sensitive subjects. So what's going to be happening today? So we're going to be taking about 45 minutes. Please do use the chat. Jo and I love the chat because we can't reach everybody all the time. So you can, but we'll also open up for questions at the actual end, and we might open it up in the middle. Feel free, please. Lovely to see Sally with her video on there, and others will have their videos on. We will be recording the session, so we upload that onto our website, send an email, and then we will send you the link for that afterwards. And do, if you could, please, participants, all mute yourselves. I can see a couple of you are not muted, and if I hit mute all in a panic because someone's dog's barking or something, then it mutes the presenters as well. So that causes a bit of a ding dong for us. But anyway, fantastic. We've got 30 people on the call at the moment, which is brilliant. And I'm sure we're going to have lots of people asking different questions. We do ask for your review at the end. Again, we put that link out in the thing, and maybe some testimonials, but also just to say, we are here to talk about this, but we can help you with all of these in your workplace. So whether it be mental health training, whether it's workplace coaching in mental health, we talked about that earlier, didn't we, Jo? About the difference. In fact, why don't you just tell everybody what you have learned about doing some workplace coaching?
Yeah, so shall I introduce myself now, Alyson?
Yes, why don't you?
Okay, I'll do that, then everybody knows that who I am. So hi everyone, I can't see you all, but it's lovely to see you, and it's great that you've all taken the time out today to come on to this webinar. My name is Jo Perruzza. So my background for many years, I was a mental health nurse. I was a senior leader in the NHS, and actually I experienced my own burnout. So I'm very passionate about how people are cared for and looked after by their organisations, but ultimately how we can also improve our own health and well-being by looking after ourselves. And the work that I do now is, like Alyson said, I work directly into business, supporting managers and leaders around asking those really difficult questions that sometimes they don't want to ask someone around their mental health and well-being. We look at strategy, but what businesses really need, rather than going for the tick box. So it gets right embedded into the culture of an organisation. And from that, I do one-to-one work with employees that they know that they're well enough to stay in work, but they just need that little bit of extra support. And I've been working with a woman for 3 to 4 months in an organisation, and yesterday we had our final session, and I asked her what her biggest takeaways have been. What has she really found of value about this whole process? She started out on a wellbeing score, which I do with everyone, and she measured herself at a 3 at the very beginning. Yesterday, when she measured herself, she was a 9. That's a significant jump in her well-being and how she now knows she can stay in work and how to look after herself. But the thing that she found of most value was the fact that I was external. I had nothing to do with the organisation that she worked in. So we built up that trusting relationship really quickly. There's no fear unless I say to her, I'm going to have to breach confidentiality here of anything going back to her employees. But it also allowed her to really open and talk about her challenges with her manager. For me, from that perspective, as a professional and as a coach, that's one of the best results that I could ever get. For her, You know, her sickness levels went down. She has now got skills in her toolbox that really help her. But the most amazing thing is that she feels she's got a better working relationship with her team and with her manager. You know, that's a really good outcome for all of us. So I guess well-being and mental health, you know, that's such an important factor for people, and perhaps something that you might want to think about as we go through the session today.
Fantastic. So after the session, you know, these are some of the things that we hope you're going to be able to do. It's not a magic fix, is it, Joe?
No.
But I'm going to hand over to you now.
Okay.
If you just tell me when you want the next slide.
Okay, so great stuff. So hope you've all got a drink and you're kind of ready for the next 30 minutes or so. So after the session, you will be able to pick yourself up and keep motivated throughout the day. As we're heading into winter, you know, we need to kind of find that routine that impacts our motivation, because our motivation isn't something that comes naturally for many people. You know, create that separation between your work and your home life, especially for the person on there that put about, you know, working from home consistently. You know, that's your individual space, but there are things that we will go through today that you will hopefully take some tips away. You may be doing some already, but if you're doing something that we haven't mentioned, please share that with us, because, you know, we want to learn from you guys as well. Manage and prioritize both work and domestic responsibilities. It's a tricky one, isn't it? You know, it's a tricky one how you do that, but there are ways of doing it. And combining all of the above to minimize your stress levels, maximize your positivity and your productivity. Thanks, Alyson. Please use the chat, guys. So these are the basic things that we need in our life. We need really good food, nutrition, you know, taking a look at what have you been eating over the summer, and does that change as we head into the winter months? I know my nutrition tends to kind of be towards the more stodgy food as we get towards winter, but is that right for you? You know, taking regular breaks to have good meals, thinking about when you have your protein, your fats and your carbs, you know, because winter soup, Russ, I actually made chicken soup the other day and it was really nice. It's good for the soul as well. You know, things like that. You can batch cook, you know, save time by preparing your meals in advance, so you don't get those moments of opening the biscuit cupboard and seeing what's in there, or the cupboard that holds all the carbohydrates like I have in my house with my 3 daughters. You know, so it's about, you know, maybe thinking about, okay, Sunday evening, I'm going to spend a bit of time, Gin, I'm going to spend a bit of time preparing and thinking about my meals for the rest of the week. You know, what is going in there? You need a protein source, a good healthy fat source, and carbs. Don't limit the carbs, people, because actually we need carbs for our brain function as well. So that's really, really important. So preparing your meals in advance saves time. You're going to snack less, and you're going to enjoy the fact that you can get up, walk around in your house, have your meal already prepared, and you can even get a chance to go out for a walk as well. You know, that's something, that preparation is really key. Sleep. Yeah, we all need to have sleep. You know, and there's so much information out there now around cooking isn't a chore, it is a joy. Absolutely. Cook with love and your food will taste so much better. You know, sleep hygiene is really, really important. So thinking about right now, you know, what time are you going to bed? What time in the day are you dipping with your energy levels? What time are you wanting to wake up in the morning? You know, what's your nighttime and morning routines like? You know, whilst these will be a lot of people might be doing these things already, you know, getting those things in order can really help you. That's sleeping. Where do you keep your mobile phone at night time? You can put that in the chat box. A lot of people take it into their bedroom with them. Myself and Alyson did a digital detox one a few months ago now, wasn't it, Alyson? It was amazing how many people actually, you know, do take their phone, put it by their bed, because it's an alarm clock as well.
Absolutely. I'd love some comments on here. I can see Wendy says she's at night time, she falls asleep in front of the sofa, waking up and crawling into bed. I must say, I've got a friend of mine that does that, and I just hate it. I would rather go to bed at 9 and watch my iPad till 12, which I'm not saying is a good habit, but I can't bear waking up. But actually, let's just, so Lorraine says, I take mine to bed for the alarm. And let's just think about that at the moment. What impact does having your phone beside your bed have? So Russ says 10 p.m. go to bed, phone downstairs. Wow. So people are taking it, leaving it downstairs. Always have my phone by the bed for an alarm. I mean, I think this need to be contacted. I mean, even in, when I say the old days, I mean, when I was young, my mum always had a phone beside the bed, you know, because of, in case of emergencies, and you know, but now we've got family overseas, and if I don't turn the thing off, then I get pinged with WhatsApp messages in the middle of the night. And I don't find that actually helps. So I've muted that group. But actually, with the new upgrade with the phone, with my latest iPhone, it helped me to set a nighttime thing, so that all my notifications just stop automatically. So Paul says he listens to music. Thomas says I can highly recommend the book. Says Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker.
Yeah, very, very good book. Yeah.
Why is it so good?
I think it just really explains the reasons, really simply, why we speak. I don't know what you thought about that. Was it Paul who said that? Yeah. Or was it who?
No, it's Thomas Smith. Thomas.
Yeah, what you found really helpful about it, but I just found it really straightforward and simple.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into all the sort of evolutionary side of why we sleep and how to get more optimal sleep out of it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Did you have a big takeaway from reading it? Did you change anything about your sleeping pattern?
Well, the whole blue light thing, so trying to keep your phone away from you, stuff like that. I'd like to say I don't do it, but I do. At least I'm conscious that I'm doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it is a big one for a lot of people, isn't it? You know, tech, but turning your screen light down and just turning your phone on its face rather than upwards, if you have to have it, you know, in the room by you. But I know that listening to music, listening to all the kind of perhaps the meditations and some of the, you know, I've recently got into the binaural beats, which really help me sleep. So they're sound waves for your brain. I don't know. I feel that my productivity is better. Whether it's that or not, I'm not quite sure, but time will tell. But, you know, there's so many things that I guess we use our phones for, but I think it's just be more mindful, you know, use your phone at nighttime, perhaps with a bit more intention, rather than just aimlessly scrolling through Instagram, Facebook. Monday night, was it Monday night when the whole thing went down?
Oh, lovely.
That was bliss for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else got a bit anxious, but I actually really quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, I was not anxious until I knew that it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody thought it was just me. And then I was like, and then it came up on the BBC. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So moving on, talk to us about H2O, water, hydration.
Water. Okay, so staying hydrated. We should be, I'm not saying should, because that's a word that I don't really like to use. It's helpful if you could drink around 2 litres a day.
Oh so my God, seriously?
Pardon? Yeah,
seriously?
I know. Yeah, you can put some juice in there though as well, you know. Coffee, black coffee doesn't really count because coffee dehydrates us as well, sadly, for the coffee lovers on the group.
And the wine lovers. Nice one, Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. Drinking, what did Russ say there? Drinking lots of water help me too. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that is really important. So when we're hydrated, basically our brain absorbs the water and so do the cells in our bodies. Yeah. So it gives us energy. It absolutely helps us to eat less as well. So you can fill up on your glasses of water before you eat. So you're going back to not snacking in those all those carbohydrates. But actually, if you're somebody that suffers from perhaps anxiety and gets, you know, feels that quite badly, replacing your caffeinated drinks with water is going to really help to reduce the stimulation on your kidneys, on your adrenal glands, which is where our stress comes from anyway. So water is really essential. And I've just seen Holly put there, do you drink 4 litres of water, Holly?
Oh my goodness, wow.
Wow, that is impressive.
Sorry, yes, I do. It's just a habit now. I started doing it through fitness.
Yeah.
And then it's just, obviously you do have to go to the toilet quite a lot, I'm not going to lie. But that's also quite good because obviously it gets rid of all the toxins.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It is a good, and have you noticed that since you've been doing that, do you actually feel better physically and mentally?
I do. I'm very alert. I'm one of those weirdos who don't drink coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Okay.
So I don't need coffee in the morning to kind of I'm one of those people that laughs on the train before 8 a.m. So wow. I wake up in a good mood.
That's fantastic. That
That's
really is really, really, really good.
Well,
I've got a soda stream, by the way. And I love my soda stream, and I don't put all the yucky Cokes and stuff in, but look, there's my soda stream bottle beside me. I certainly don't drink 4 litres, but then the blooming dentist they never go because it's carbonated. It does get the back of your front teeth, so you can't flip in. There's no winning. But anyway, so the basic note here is
drink water. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Some lovely things. You can put your cucumber in there. You can put your mint in there. You can put your lemon in there. You know, there's all those amazing kind of fruit diffuser things that you can have now, or you can just stick to water.
Yeah. So there's a really interesting comment there from Isabel. Lots of feedback on Instagram the other night made me realise how much I was relying on those apps for something to do, but how bad it was for my well-being. It was a genuine relief to have a break from it, and I was a little bit annoyed when it came back, making an effort to limit my engagement with it now. Well, there are lots of different apps and different things, and we did do a digital detox, which I will try when I'm on here and find. We did a live event on that, so I'll try and put the link. I'll put the link in our email afterwards of the digital detox, because you can listen to that as well. Right, but listen, we are now on 11:19, so we're only on slide 6. So let's get going. What's the next one, Jo?
Yeah, so getting physical. So we know that there's such a lot of research and a strong connection between our mental health and our physical health. As human beings, we cannot separate the two. It's just impossible for us to do that. So we've really got to think about what is good for our physical health, getting out into nature, into fresh air. Obviously, if you're really liking going to the gym, you don't have to do that. But there are so many other things you can do. And what I would highly recommend is just moving. If you're not somebody that's really into kind of physical activity to the extreme, just move every single day, and your body will really thank you for that, because what that does is it increases your energy, rather than when you're sedentary. If you're sitting at your desk, you kind of hunch over, you kind of feel all this stiffness. Even the stretching out, just generally moving your body is going to make a huge difference to how you feel. But if you can, think about perhaps some activities that you might have wanted to try but hadn't, or you're going to set yourself some new goals for the winter months coming around your physical health. This is a really good time to do that. Start that planning now and thinking about what you'd like to do. So I've always wanted to try indoor rock climbing, so that's going to be my winter sport, and then I'm not really having to go outside. You're going to be with people. If you're a people person, you're going to be challenging your brain to learn something new, and that in itself is really good for your well-being. So think about something that you wanted to try but you've never really kind of had the opportunity to do it. But our physical health is something that really makes a huge difference, not only to our bodies physically in, perhaps how we look, but our cardiovascular system, our endocrine system, and how our brain works, because all those hormones get released up into our brain and help us to feel good. So we get a hit of dopamine. The way that sometimes people get a hit of dopamine from social media, get your hits of dopamine from exercising and really kind of looking after your body as well.
Yeah, that's really good. Russ is definitely on a good one today. He says he's got a friend who's got a colleague who's got a stand-up desk for his treadmill. And Wendy Saville, I can't believe I'm in awe of anyone who can do that cold water swimming. Seriously?
Oh, Wendy, amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oof. Where are you doing, Wendy? If you could pop on the chat, where are you doing it? Is anyone else here on the thing done cold water swimming? I mean, it's all the go for the old dears, isn't it?
It's really popular though, because obviously it's really good for your breathing. It helps with stress and anxiety. That Wim Hof guy, not that I know him personally, but he's the main man, isn't he, around the cold water swimming. His research is really interesting, and it's something that I'd certainly consider, but perhaps in the warmer months.
So without getting too Buddhist on us, or whatever your spiritual thing, it doesn't have to be a religious spiritual thing.
And again, as human beings, we're made up of our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health, and our mental health. And for some people, bringing that spiritual awareness and finding things that bring you peace, that bring you joy, that help you to feel calm, that you really want to hand over that stress to a higher power, whatever that is for you, really tune into that around your well-being, whether it's prayer, whether it's, you have something else that you feel is really helpful for you, but you can't neglect your spiritual health, because it looks different for everybody. And that's the thing about all of our mental health and our well-being. Each one of us is so unique that it is different for everybody. So it's about finding what works for you. And I know that's always a challenge for organizations to do that, but there are always those pathways that can really help, that those 4 things are actually being included in your well-being and mental health strategies. Love spending time in the woods. Do you take the dog there as well?
That's Russ, she's answering. She's not just talking to herself. There is
No.
a chat box, just in case anyone thinks she's going a bit weird. Yes, Russ takes his dog to the woods, because that's a different type of podcast if we're not careful.
Yeah, we won't go.
Otherwise, the answer is woof.
Fair enough. So how do we manage our emotions? So everybody, we've been through probably one of the most challenging times, over a much longer period than probably we ever anticipated. We've been through change that perhaps we didn't want. Some people enjoyed that change, some people didn't. So our emotions have really been tested to the max on a lot of different things, because we've had, vaccines, anti-vaxxers, wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, working from home, all the pressure and stress that brings, for some people, and other people that will be a pure sheer delight, socializing, not socializing. So our emotions are constantly being tested. And it's, for me, one of the things that I really learned to do during lockdown, and put my hands up, I've had very busy, stressful jobs in the past, but I didn't practice this until more recently, was that stopping, pausing, and reflecting, to really manage, why am I feeling this? What did that person say to me that's made me feel upset today, or has made me feel really angry? Where has that come from? And really not reacting to it, because when we react to things, it's really hard for us to kind of bring that back sometimes. So that stop, pause, reflect is a really useful tool that I use a lot with a lot of people, actually. And the benefits that they say is that it stops the brain and then saying something that they regret. They think about it first. Take a deep breath. Our breath is free. We have this amazing, facility to help with our emotions by just breathing and then reflecting on why that happened. And that is
you still write in your journal, Jo?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of journaling. I find journaling really, really helpful as a way of, just taking out my mental mess in the morning and putting it in a book, closing the book and getting on with my day, and I don't look back at that either. That's one rule that I always have around my journaling. Some people like to journal where they look back and see their progress. I think if anybody ever picked up my journal, that would be a major concern for some people. However, for me, it really does release those thoughts that sometimes can stop us being the amazing people we are during the day, because our brain's saying, oh, you're not very good at that. You've got that job to do today, and you don't really like doing that, do you? So what are you going to do? Those little tests that we give ourselves sometimes, get it all out before you do, even before you pick up your phone. Get it on.
Yeah, you could do voice notes. If you're not a writer, you could do yourself a little, either a video diary or voice notes or anything. Just wondering, in the room today, if you could put in the chat what sort of things you do to manage your emotions, whether it's to try and make yourself feel less down or less angry or less frustrated. I mean, these workshops these webinars that we do are very cathartic for me, I must say. I have a good chat with Jo for half an hour before we go live, and then I always feel in a better place, at 10:59 than I did at 10:29, because I've had a half an hour to chat to Jo, decompress, So just put, if you wouldn't mind putting on the chat. So Wendy does an ad hoc journal. You know, what do you guys do to manage your emotions? Because like we've already said, sometimes going onto Facebook or Instagram actually is not the way to decompress. So we've talked about exercise, talked about, you know, drinking water. What other things, other tips have people got? Karen, Susan, Caroline, Valerie, Jennifer, Sally, Annie, you know, please do. Oh, dancing. Oh, that's nice. So Annie, you do some journaling as well. Do you want to maybe tell us, are you happy to come off mute and tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. It's not something that I took to straight away. So anyone who wants to try it, I would recommend persevering with it. I got way too fixated on how it looked and was I journaling about the right thing, which I think a lot of people end up feeling. But now I've got a journal that I just sometimes sit down in the evening and just whatever comes out of my brain, just write it down. And whether that's, it's been a great day today because of this and this and this, or it's been a bad day because of X, Y, Z, just to go through it. And sometimes if I wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling quite right, I'll do kind of 3 things I want to do today to make today a good day and just jot those down as well. And it kind of helps me to set up right. But yeah, it's one you need to persevere with. I think it doesn't naturally come to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Annie. That's really great to share. So Susan says she has our monthly one-to-ones, which are called our team moan meetings, but they do work. And you know, I think if you are the manager, you definitely need to factor in some of that time for your team to think about things like this. So Jo, what do we want to say about this one?
1 second. Be realistic about the capacity of your mental health. I think this is really getting honest with yourself and identifying and knowing when you feel at burnout before you get to burnout. You know, what are your pressure points and what boundaries? You know, boundaries are critical. I think one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves, whether you're a manager and, you know, an employee, you know, me or Alyson, anybody, is about setting those boundaries, you know, around the values that you bring into that place of work. You know, so knowing when to say no, finding those ways of saying no without actually saying the word no, you know, and being comfortable in that, because I know that for many people that can feel quite a challenge, because you feel like, well, if I don't do it, who is going to do it? And actually, you know, that responsibility might not lie with you, but being really realistic about what are the things that are good for your mental health that you can do consistently, but what are the things that you need to be aware of when your mental health begins to deteriorate? You know, and that will look different for everybody. You know, I think it's whether you feel under pressure, you don't perhaps feel valued by the organization. You know, there's some great research at the moment that says, you know, particularly this is for managers that are on the call, is how do you help your remote workers have a voice? Because this is what we're talking about. So if you're managing people that are working remotely, how are you helping them to have a voice? Because when employees have a voice and they're heard and they're listened to, they instantly begin to feel more valued. And that is something that's going to have a major impact on someone's well-being and their mental health. Whilst that perhaps isn't a practical tool of something to do, it is something to think about within your organization. It's how are you doing that? What does it look like? What's in place? You know, are your remote workers getting offered things like stress risk assessments if they're coming to you and saying, you know, I kind of feel I've got back pain today, or I'm getting a lot of headaches? Because for me, what that is, they're telling you in a non-verbal way that they're really experiencing stress. And what does that look like for them? Because perhaps stress for some people is a very physical thing rather than an emotional or a mental thing. So it's about having those skills and that knowledge of, you know, of your employees and looking for those behavioural changes. I know that Wendy asked a really good question around, you know, how do you kind of spot the signs for remote workers? And it's really about that. It's about how do you stay visible as a leader, as a manager, to your employees that are working remotely, because they will give you signs that things are not running at 100%. And it may be things like really simple things like they don't have their camera on in meetings. That could be, I don't want you to see what's inside my house. You know, you have to be sensitive around these things. You know, their living environment might not be what they see in other people. So they might be doing this thing called comparing and despairing. That's going to have an impact on their mental health. So as an organizations, are you taking those things into consideration? You know, do you have a rule about what people wear when they come on a Zoom or a Teams meeting? You know, and is that for everybody, or are some people kind of losing that kind of professionalism and not perhaps coming appropriately dressed? So that would tell me as a manager what's going on for that person. You know, there are some really big key indicators in someone's behavior.
Yeah, and look for patterns.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if, you know, somebody's looking a bit of a bag of spanners one day, doesn't mean to say they've got depression. But if over a period of time, you know, just look for that. They missed a meeting this week. They missed a meeting. I feel quite sad. I've spoken to some people more recently in my personal network, and I had picked up that they weren't feeling well, but I hadn't pushed the point. And it's only now when we're getting back together, and they said to me, "Oh, you know, I really, really suffered." And I was like, I had gone one step. I had messaged one particular person, said, "Are you sure you're all right? Do you want to chat?" And she said, "Oh yeah, no, everything's fine." But you know what? I reckon if I'd messaged her twice or knocked on her door or done something else, you know, I think I would have had a different response. And I'm kicking myself a bit, but I can't kick myself. I've got to just be aware of what you know, for next time. And as a manager, just making sure that you've got your eyes on everybody. And if you're the manager that's suffering yourself, you know, you also need to maybe talk to people about that.
And I think, you know, we often say to people, "Oh, hi, how are you today?" "Oh, I'm fine." "Oh, that's good." But actually really listen and watch verbally how they say fine to you, because that's one of your biggest, you know, if you take anything from this today, that word fine does not mean they are fine.
Yeah.
What it actually means is, I would really like to talk to you, but I don't know how to start the conversation. And if you have, you know, those skills and those abilities to say, "Hey, I saw you looking a little bit sad the other day. Do you want to you know, is there anything, can we book a call? Can I come and meet you?" Because even though they're working remotely, you can still have human to human contact.
Yeah.
You know, I think please always bear that in mind, that not everybody, some people feel really comfortable behind the screen, you know, and are quite happy to kind of talk about very personal things behind the screen. But for some others, they really need that human contact.
But also I find with some of my team, it's actually, I can have a better conversation with them on an audio call.
Yeah.
Maybe when I'm on a dog walk, rather than a video call sitting like this. It's like, right, let's talk through. And, you know, I know it can be very useful from a practical perspective, because now I can share slides and this and that, but actually not everyone, well, we're all just different, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all different.
So Joe's got these 7 steps to effective homeworking, which I'm sure you're all absolutely gagging to hear now, Joe.
I'm hoping a lot of you are already doing a lot of these already, but if you're not and your boundaries have slipped, I hope today you get back into doing these really quickly. So have you agreed a start and finish time with your line manager? Because that is really important, because it might be flexible working, because what you have in your mind about is a start time, they might have something else. It's have the conversation. I'm going to work 8:30 till 4:30, Monday to Thursday. Friday, you know, I'm going to slightly alter my hours because I need to pick up my children from school, or I need to look after my, you know, my parents, you know, whatever it is that has got, because actually you've still got competing demands at home here. So have that conversation, get it clear, get it written down.
Stick to it. It's really easy. Yeah, if you don't have a 9 o'clock meeting, it's really easy for you to think, "I'll sod it, you know, I'll start at 9:30. You know, my daughter's not with us anymore, so I could quite easily, I work for myself, I don't have to be at my desk till 11. But I'm really trying to keep that routine going, because I know it's good for upstairs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like Alice, you know, you might have a great morning routine. Stick to that as well. You know, stick to your morning routine, because that's going to really impact on the rest of your day. You know, setting boundaries, I really can't emphasize on that one enough, because, you know, that is a major part of our own self-care. And if somebody doesn't like the boundaries that you set, you know, be bold enough to have that conversation and say, "Well, this is what works for me. This is what keeps me well. When I don't do these things, or I'm not clear about my direction of travel, it really has a major impact on how I you know, my productivity at work, because I'm wondering what you're thinking about. You know, it's about being bold enough to have those conversations. Managers, stay in contact. You know, it's about, I wrote something out before, it's, you might be out of sight, but but your employees should not be out of your mind. You know, they should be in your mind all of the time. Pick up the phone, book those calls, have those conversations. You know, I noticed somebody had put on the chat there asking twice how somebody is. That is absolutely crucial, because the second time you'll probably get the truth. The first time, you know, people might be able to brush it off a little bit, but the second time they will say, well, actually, you know, if you've got 5 minutes, I really need to have a talk to you. But what Alyson was referring to before about, you know, walking and talking, that is so good for your mental health and well-being, because you might not be having to face that person face to face, but you're walking, so your mood is up, and you're more than likely to have a better productive conversation.
I mean, we're running at the moment, if anyone's interested, we are delivering, and we'd be happy to do another cohort of running mental health training for Mental Health England first aid training. It's only £300 a person. And I'm telling you, I'm doing it myself now, and it's really good just to help you use the right language and to give you the confidence to have those conversations. I'm not going to be a counsellor, but I'm going to be a mental health first aider, and I should be very proud to put that on my LinkedIn profile and, you know, my email signature. But on to creating a good home working space, Jo.
Yeah, so I think, you know, if you can and where possible, and I appreciate it's not possible for everyone, but it's about creating that space in your home that is purely for work and nothing else. So hopefully that you're not having to work from your bedroom, you know, even if you haven't got a separate room from where you live, just creating a corner that your work desk, your laptop stays there and it doesn't move. And again, that's a physical boundary that you're setting. Using a time management app such as a Pomodoro, this is something that I really value during lockdown, because I've got a great brain for being distracted onto other things quite quickly. You know, I'll be having one idea and then I'll be on to idea number 10. But what I needed to do was find something that helped me focus for 20 minutes of the day and get a piece of work done, have a break and go back to that again. So if you're somebody that needs that focus, that does get easily distracted, that has got a really creative, curious mind and thinks a lot about what to do next, but doesn't complete the job in hand, you know, this Pomodoro really, really helped me. And it's an app on your phone. It goes into a lot more detail than what I'm explaining it, but it's really helpful. And I still use it now when I've got a piece of work that I need to do that needs my time and attention and intention. I always go to the Pomodoro app, because it was a real life changer for me. Keeping in regular contact with your team. So if you're a manager, thinking about, you know, who's in your team, focusing on those positive contributions that your employees bring. What are they? And having a conversation around those things when you speak to them, not just about, you know, have you met your targets? How's this? How's that? Yes, all of those things are important, but it's about what that person brings to the team, and, you know, honoring them for being that individual that is a great connector, is a great champion of others, or whatever it is that they bring. What else? Don't, obviously, where you can, you know, if you have got to deliver some difficult news, it's about thinking about what that might look like. Are you the right person to do that? If you don't feel that you have those relevant skills, find somebody that has, to open up that conversation. It may be that might have to be done face to face rather than, you know, remotely, because some of that information is really, really sensitive. You know, identifying what makes them unique and tell them how great they've been, you know, during the pandemic, if they have been great, obviously, you know, what they've brought to the team, you know, how what their contributions have been, because these are where your employees are going to feel, wow, my manager really notices me, even though they don't see me every day. You know, this is something that is going to bring value to you and your team, and you're going to see a difference in how the work they do for you, and create a culture that develops trust, because without trust, you can't do a lot of those things that perhaps you need to do, you know, because there's a lot of research showing that employees get quite anxious when they have to speak to their managers. So if you are a manager, it's about thinking about what that is, what that looks like within your organisation. And is that something that that you as a team within your organisation need to work on? And all of these things are what Alyson and I can really help you with as well. You know, we are skilled in HR, in mental health, and, you know, sometimes you have to have that external person come in and actually unpick what's been done, but actually what else is there to do, because, you know, mental health over the next, I don't know, 5 or 10 years is going to be crucial within the workplace. And know where to get further support from. Most organisations have employee assistance programs, you know, and it's about, if you are in HR, how visible is that to your employees? Do they know how to access it? What's available to them? And who to ask to make a referral.
Brilliant, brilliant. Joe, that's just so good. Some fantastic tips. Feel free. Russ says that he's got a kitchen timer for £2. I said, Thomas, no, you shouldn't be using an app, because that's another digital thing. Get away from the digital thing. Get a little time. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Russ. That's what I was going to suggest. Get something. You can buy yourself something. You know, it doesn't have to all be on an app.
No, it doesn't. A little, you know, the egg timers, or not the egg timers, the twisty ones now that you can get, not the old-fashioned egg timers from our day, Alyson.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go through this slide, and you know, helping others with their mental health is make sure that you're providing consistent communication, because we can be a bit patchy also depending on our own mood. So make sure that consistent and communicating, like I said, either on the phone or through you know, different, you might have Slack or different, you know, text, MS Teams. Use different forms of communication for the rest of your team. Find out who they're living with, if they're living with other people. If you think they're suffering with some mental illness, try and get understanding of what is going on for them. I do have somebody that I know that sometimes we need to phone someone else within their world to check in with them and check that they're okay. Ask them what help they might think they need. Again, lots of people decline help, but I think if you push it a couple of times, you can maybe say, and it might be something you've never even thought of. They might say, well, you know what, if I could have Wednesdays off, then I don't know, I go for my counselling or whatever on a Wednesday. I'd rather do longer days other days, or something like that. Make sure you involve the right people. Don't try, if you're not a mental health first aider, or even if you are, don't try and be, you know, like Joe's an ex-mental health nurse. You're not an ex-mental health nurse, but how can you direct them to the right place? And, you know, there's the Hub of Help, there's NHS websites, there's so much out there. And from an organisation perspective, of course, we could help you maybe with more than just one employee. We could help you with a wellness action plan. So there's lots and lots of stuff that we can do to help you, but there's lots of stuff that you can do to help you and your teams. So whizzing through now, because we're at 45 minutes, we've got top tips for working productively at home. We're going to send that link out to you afterwards. We're going to send you a link with the slides, link with this recording. We're available, aren't we, Joe, for you used to say weddings and bar mitzvahs. I'm not sure whether people still say that, but we are available for you know, for working with you and your organizations to help you, you know, to move through this really challenging time. And I think a lot of organizations have put the pause on mental health training or any training because they're just not sure. Well, you know, COVID is here to stay, and we've got to keep this communication up, even though we know we've done these slides, we've done this stuff before, but we know that it's still relevant.
Absolutely.
To people. Just gonna ask, you know, go online or unmute yourself. If you've got any questions, please do crack on and go for it.
Ru's raised his hand, I think, Alyson, I saw.
Oh, Russ, yeah. Okay, go for it, Russ.
Just a quick point.
Yeah.
We said make a space at home as your space. I'm very lucky. I live in a 5-bedroom house. Yeah. Unfortunately, I also live with my 2 children who are married and my grandchildren.
Wow.
And a dog.
Wow.
And we run a child minding company from the same house. What I find is you don't necessarily have to set aside a place, but set aside a place for the time. So that is my office between this and this. Yeah. It's the dining room the rest of the time. Yeah. And that way it's not such an imposition on the family, but it makes it clear that you can do it even if you ain't got enough room to have a dedicated office.
Yeah.
Really good. thank you for sharing that, Russ, because it's about, you know, it's that time management again, isn't it? Like the dining room is going to be mine from 2 till 5 every Wednesday. And people,
but it's time management and space management working
absolutely.
together.
Yeah, I really like that, because you've got a busy house by the sounds of it.
Ah, yeah. Well, I think Amy's come on camera. I reckon she's got something to say. Amy, is that right? Amy Ray?
Hi, I just wanted to quickly say thank you. I've been working at home for 18 months and I only started with the company a month before COVID happened. So I really hadn't met anybody before I started working from home. So this has been really helpful, and I'm going to share it with the rest of the team as well, because I think it's definitely something we've not spoken about enough.
What sort of role are you in, Amy?
I'm a partnership liaison officer for mental health service. So I do a lot of communication in the community, improving accessibility, which has been really hard through COVID. But this has just been really helpful. We're going to start setting up groups, wellbeing groups and things in the company as well. So I think this will be really useful. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to Thomas. No questions from me, but just going to show gratitude. This has been fantastic. My first ever LinkedIn event. Future events have big shoes to fill. Oh my God.
Oh, well,
you haven't seen.
Thank you very much.
It'd be really interesting if you wouldn't mind just telling me on the chat, where did you, because we advertise in a couple of different places. We've got an email list that we email people. We have got LinkedIn. So I then we put it out on our LinkedIns and then other people can invite on LinkedIn. So would you mind either unmuting or popping on the chat, guys? So Thomas, how did you come to find the event today?
I was literally just browsing on LinkedIn events, just because I never, it's going to sound so silly, I never even realized there was an events section on LinkedIn, which sounds bonkers. But I was just scrolling through and I saw something about remote working and I thought, oh, I'll pop in and see what it's like.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, well, I couldn't believe it last night. So we had 97 people. I mean, obviously they haven't all come today, but on Eventbrite, and I was like, oh my goodness. Joe's one. So Annie found it on Eventbrite, searching on Eventbrite. And so just looking, Jennifer, thank you. Found it really useful. I have to leave the meeting. Okay, no problem. LinkedIn for Wendy. Okay, yeah. So she and Jennifer received an email about it. Yeah, so we get people from all different places. So we're also going to start doing, it's different because this is a webinar when you can all have your cameras showing. Then we also do these other things. So if you follow Peole Vision, we do LinkedIn lives as well. So we're doing a live next week. So we're an HR and training business with mental health, because that's become more important in the last 18 months. So we've been doing that as well. So yeah, we've got all sorts. So if you go to www. Bear with me, Keith, what is it? Sorry, I'll just quickly ask my husband. Peole Vision, back to business. Peole Vision, and then look at Toolkit on there. You'll see we've done about 17 different webinars. You know, all free, and all the materials are there, all the stuff is there. So I can't work a way out quickly to find it on with all the screens and everything. But www.pvhr.com, then look for Back to Business Toolkit, and it's all on there. So it's lovely to meet some new people today. Oh, well done, somebody. Thanks, Thomas. Thomas has managed to work out while I'm gabbling along. And Susan says, was told about it on an SBK workshop. Oh, blimey, I don't know what SBK is. That an organisation? Thanks, Russ. He said he's got to go. Yes, okay. So that's an organisation. And that's what we found as well, a lot of organisations, because we've honed into HR, they've been forwarding it out to their team as well. So we just hope that you could send us a Google. We'll send you a link that says, here's a testimonial. Please fill it in, because we're doing it for nothing. Yeah. So we'd really appreciate it if you could just give us a little Google rating. And that's it, really. Jo, any final from you?
Can I just mention my podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's for men, but I think women might find it helpful to listen to it as well. I host a podcast called Let Men Talk. It's available on Spotify. I've got one coming out on Sunday where I'm where I had the pleasure of interviewing the head of player engagement for Kick Racism Out of Football. I would suggest you grab some tissues for that one as well. But yeah, it's really a platform where men come and share the challenges of being a man in the world today, and some of the things they've faced around their mental health and how they've overcome them. So yeah, it's helpful for both men and women, I think. So that's available on Spotify. And it's been I've really enjoyed today. The energy's been really good. There's been some great questions, and I just really hope that you take one or two things away and you implement that for your own mental health and well-being moving forward. And thank you.
Good luck to you all. We all need it.
We do.
So I'm going to stop recording.